Hello, friends and followers. This video is how to check the PTO oscillator or the PTO device on the Drake. This PTO here connects to the tuning dial. The tuning dial will turn a worm gear in here. If you can see the worm gear here spinning a little bit in the video, and you'll see the fork here that controls this ferrous slug is going into the PTO, and you'll see the guide rods out the back. And when you turn this other way here, you'll see the worm gear turning the other way and the guide rod retracting. So that's how to take a look if your PTO is actually working as far as mechanically. Now, electrically, this thing, in RF-wise, it'll put out an RF signal from it, and it says on the lid here, it's going to go from 4.5 to 5.5, 4.9 to 5.5 megahertz. So then I use something called cubic SDR and this little RTL SDR as a service monitor. So this is a very useful device to use just to watch and see if your PTO and other signals in a Drake or similar radio are working. So with that, this thing comes without a cable. So you want to order an SMA cable with a adapter on it. So I bought a kit of these, and one of the adapters was a PL259, and I just simply connect that cable onto here. I just tap a piece of wire on a clip lead on the center conductor, and then I use this to sniff the PTO. And so the best way to sniff the PTO I found is simply grab this wire and attach it to the back of the PTO. I just roll the PTO out a bit with the dial so that that little tong or that little brass rod comes out the back a bit. You can see it moving out. And I just clip this onto here like this, and it'll provide a signal from the insides of the PTO, the coil. There it is. That's clipped on. Now then, on RTL SDR, I'm using cubic SDR here. And for that, I'm going to select the generic RTL here, right there. Now, you want to make sure it's in QADC sampling for low frequencies. For HF, you want to set this thing into QADC like that. If you turn it off, it will receive better 30 megahertz and above, but for HF, you want to do QADC. All right, and that's all set. You can start the program running now. And it's going to come up in some random spot. So you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard to change the frequency area here. So you see when I click that, the frequencies are moving up, and they're also moving here. So just run down here. You know it's going to be like 4 point something. So run down here to 4 point something here. It's 2. Okay, there's 3.9. There's 5. So 4 is basically in here. So then you want to basically touch this thing on the screen just to get it to run. So I always just touch it pretty much down here low. You'll see it's going to come up in FM mode. I always go to AM mode now. And now you can look for your signal. So I'm at 4.9 now, and you can move this a bit just by changing your frequency here. I'm going to go up to 5.1. Okay, there's 5.1. Now I see a carrier there, right? So move your dial on the PTO and watch for something coming along. That doesn't look like it. So what I do usually is watch this lower scale here, which is a spectrum of pretty much everything. And I see we got a big signal right there. Whoops. Right there's a big signal. Let's move that one around. So I'm going to dial the PTO now. And yep, that's it. So if you see that signal going through and moving like that, see how I'm moving the PTO and the signal's moving? It's working, okay? So if you see that, there's no need to really work with a PTO or disassemble it. It's working fine. If you don't see that signal or you can't find it, and let's see if this thing will go to 5.5. Let's run it through here. Looks like it will, and it's gonna unclip itself, so I'm not gonna do that. So anyway, that's how to do that. And now I'm in the passband of the receiver here, and I can see the actual PTO moving along there. All right, so that settles that. This PTO works. But what if it doesn't work? You gotta take it apart. So let's do that. I'm gonna close this program now because it makes a lot of noise. Gonna close it. Actually, let's leave it open. So I'm just gonna turn the volume down on this thing. And I use a Mac with a PC keyboard. So I gotta hit function and then F1 to turn it off. Whoa. It's hard to reach across with your hand. That turns off the sound. Now, the Drake, turn off the power on it. To disassemble it, turn the power off. For safety, disconnect the power supply so you won't get shocked with 750 volts in case you end up turning it on somehow. That's off of there. Now, to get this PTO off, you have to unclip these clips here. So the PTO does have a little spring here. You take that spring off and just very gently take it off. It's delicate. It's important to have it working, so just take it off with a needle nose or something. And gently let it sit by the side there. So now this thing has two clips on each side, and this is like a big, it's like an oversized IF can really. So you want to basically take these little clips and you squeeze them together. There's little hooks under here that are going to hook the metal. So you squeeze these things inward toward each other. Squeeze that down, squeeze that up with needle nose, and I'll demo that. So now take off your clip lead. Take out these two tubes because they'll be in the way if this thing flies back. And you might take out the other one there too. That might be in the way. And maybe this one comes out too. Probably doesn't have to, but we'll take it out and put it over here. All right, so that gives us room to get this thing out. Now, I always dial this little finger guide in as I don't want it getting tangled up when I pull this thing off. So crank your PTO all the way and get that thing to come in. Just don't crank it too hard because there is a stop on it. On these T4XCs, there's not a good stop, so it's easy to break them. So just crank it until it's gone, and now it's gone, okay? And now here comes the hard part, at least for me. Okay, and yeah, you might want to take the light bulb off too, get this out of the way. So light bulb, take it off and put it aside here. Don't forget about this light bulb. You can have a short when you power up. And blow your fuses because this can touch the metal and then kapoof, your fuses are gone. Okay, so let's now get this thing off. I got more coffee here and too many projects going on. But let's get it off. I'm going to take the side on this PTO that I can access easily. And I got the phone here running, so I would like to put the phone down and record somehow with you watching me do this. But maybe I will use, no, I can't. Okay, one hand. So one-handed, we're going to try this thing out. You want to take needle nose here and position them now at the bottom of this thing. So you're right smack next to the clips. And gently, gently, you don't want to break these clips. Just, you probably won't break this, but you could distort it. So just kind of draw them down. Okay, I heard it clunk. And I think that side came loose. So gently, gently push on the side a little bit. It looks like it came loose a little bit. So then you might want to try one and pull it down. Just make sure it's unhooked. And then the other. See, I almost bent that, so maybe don't grab one. That looks like it's coming loose. Anyway, you need two hands to do this, and maybe I can show you this with the phone here, leveraged on the leverage the phone on this thing and try it that way. Let's try turning it around. And I'll put the phone on the finals cage here. And we'll try to get this one off over here. Okay, there we go. That's a pretty darn good view. And I can use two hands. If I can get in there and do this. teeth can't get in there, the phone's blocking it. No good way to do this. I don't have a professional pole to hold, or no one to hold this phone, so anyway. Well, let's just try and stumble along and do it. Gonna grab this one and just push it down. And you don't want to break these. You really can't break them, but you can make this thing like not go on very well in the future, so you don't want to do that. Okay, that's not working too well. You really do need two hands for this. I'm just wondering how to capture this thing with the phone. Maybe I can put the phone in here. Well, let's see. Jam the phone in the radio like this. Yeah, that works. That works. And now I can see the clip. The phone is really in the way of me getting this clip, but let's try it. So I want to compress those things, and I can't really get in there to do it. So I'm going to push this one down a bit, and I'm going to pull out a bit like that. You don't want to go pulling too far because you'll crack the coil. There's a coil in here, and you'll crack it. So you don't really want to force this thing off. And you know what? I'm going to try a different tactic on this thing now. So let's look at it from the viewpoint of the teeth that are coming through here. So inside here, you'll see where it clips on. And you'll see the little teeth. Okay, there's the end of the clip, and you can see the teeth on it coming through. And so maybe I can grab the teeth and get it out that way. I don't like taking these apart because of this very nature of this cover. It's a pain in the neck, but it's what Drake gave us to work with, right? So this may work. You might want to take off this white guy too. I don't know. Maybe I don't like taking that off either. It drops parts all over the place, but let's see if we can get this off now. So I'm just going to try and bend those tabs a little bit. So those are hooks, as you see. And you want to really get them down. All right, that may be a better way to do it. You don't want to hit this slug for any reason with your pliers when you force. I think I have the one tab disconnected on the bottom. Okay, no, the top one looks disconnected because it's distended a bit. So I'm gonna get the screwdriver here and try to pry the other one here, and I'm gonna pry against the side of the mechanism here. So let's get that to the camera. It's not focusing anymore, is it? Now there it is. All right, so I'm going to try and pry on the mechanism here. Actually, let's see, can I get in there? I can't really, okay, there we go. No. Yeah, maybe. Okay, yeah, that's working. I still can't get the side to come off. It looks like it's off a bit, but it's not really loose. So you can tell this thing hasn't been apart because it's hard to get apart. So it's really a virgin PTO where no one's really mucked with it. So this rig has been a rig that I think has not been really touched in any way. All right, so that side could be coming off. When this thing comes off, it slams off too. It really slams off. So while I'm holding it like that, I'm going to try and work this other side. So I'm kind of holding it with my hand like this, and putting pressure to the right side. I don't want those left clips to come back in. And I'm gonna now try to get these clips off. So let's try this. I'm gonna squeeze these guys. And yep, there it comes. So that side's off, I think. Left side is still a problem, so I'm gonna hold it now to the left. Whoops, hold it to the left. And try and get that to the left side, unhook again. I think the right side's unhooked. The left side, you really can't get any access to it. So I'm just trying to get this thing positioned so I can get this thing off. And you might find that the right side clips back on again and you gotta start over. I just can't get access to these clips decently with this phone. And actually, you know what? Here's what we're gonna do. To get access, I'm gonna pull off the center rod. If I can get this rod to come off, I know it has that switch thing in there. Let's see if we can pull off this rod. I think it'll come out. Yeah, it did. So yeah. Oops, wrong one. Wrong rod. Get this one. So, does it pull off? Not really. Maybe that's out of the way a little bit to get us in there. But I don't think it's going to come off all the way. Plus, I don't want to break it. Okay. I've had these off in 5 minutes sometimes, even 2 minutes. This is really bad. But it's what goes wrong, right? It would probably be easier to take out the PTO, but that itself is a huge, nasty job. I've taken a few of these out, and I don't recommend that either. So, but you want to get into this thing so you can check the solder connections and stuff. That's the whole problem. This isn't going very well. I might just go off camera and use 2 hands to get it off because I really can't do it with the camera in the way. So, I'm not sure I can catch this for you guys. I guess I'll leave the camera off cam. And we'll give it a shot. Yeah, the center rod, I probably took this out on other rigs, like a TX4B. I had center rod out. So I'm just going to put one hand on this thing now and just wiggle it and try the clips from either side. That usually works. You do need 2 hands for this. Okay. Soldering the left one. No dice. I'm trying to get the clips out from the side now. Okay, left side. Left side's coming off. You want to make sure it doesn't pop back in. And the way I did that was I basically, I grabbed the clips from inside here. I grabbed the tabs from inside here and I simply tugged on them. They had to come loose. So I didn't really squeeze that. I worked from inside here. On the other side, I'm just gonna grab the tabs from the side and compress them like I was telling before. Let's try that. So I'm just gonna grab these like this and try and get it off. So just like that. And I'm gonna try and pull it back. You don't want it going back. Since your left side is off, you want to hold this thing to the right. You don't want it to, well, I'm going to try and put some backward force on it, but I don't want it flipping back into the to the left side here. All right, so let's try that. Maybe I can get the phone here so you can watch the whole process, or not. There it is. All right, there it is. So, are we still in focus here? Yep. I'm just gonna put the needle nose on here now and compress these little devils without the left side plunking back in. And it's off, pretty much. Now, it's off. So when you get to this point and it's detached from the base, it's pretty much off. And you could slide it back now, and now you can take care. Don't let it slip back in to the clips, and just wiggle it and pull it off. So let's do that. Yeah, this is like heart surgery. It's not too fun. So grab it like this and just wiggle it back. And make sure those are unstuck. Something here is still stuck. Not sure on what. Looks like it's stuck on the RIDI thing here. So let's try to just unhook this. Okay, this one, wow, this one's all bent up and stuck. There, I'm not sure why that happened, but this is hard. So now it's loose. Pull it back, and here's your board. So really the hardest part is getting that damn thing off. So now we're inside this thing. And when these don't work, there's a few things to check. These screws here come loose and the whole thing vibrates and it breaks wires. So make sure the screws are tight. These then interconnect wires from the base here. Those can go bad, so you want to solder that. And when I can't figure out what's wrong with these things, now here's a famous wire that goes onto the coil. So if you see this wire here, these wires that go onto the coil can get damaged. And this is a really delicate operation. You don't really want to mess this up, but see how it's got some cracks in it already there? So I hope it's not cracked. Anyway, you want to inspect this whole thing for integrity. So I just go through with my little iron and I just resolder all these pads here. And you want to make sure you don't short anything out. You need a Weller controlled temperature iron, which I have. And you just want to kind of go through there and solder all the pads. So start from one side, solder the pads, and the other side. And look for hairline shorts, like where they might have soldered it wrong and there's a little dab that got messed up. And that's really all you do with this thing. There's a center wire that is soldered on here that gets messed up. And let's see if we can find that center wire. That is on the other side. So on this PTO, they've moved that to the other side. This is an Elite Model C, right before Drake quit making these radios, I guess, on the 4-line here. So I'm going to spin this radio around and show you the other side of the PTO. Whoa. Okay, the other side. Okay, yeah. So this wire here can become loose or detached. And so the famous WB4HFN says you got to take care of that wire. Make sure that thing is soldered on there. So this is really delicate. If you break one of these little wires, you're done. So again, check all the stuff for good connections. This thing looks, sloppy. It's all handmade. This is where they do their internal temperature compensation. They tend to change resistor values here and all that. But this stuff is all, it's all handmade. and it can be shorted, and you can see where the connections on this one are pretty good, but on some, they're cold solder joints. So you'll see that, you know, parts are protruding through here, and the wires could be cold. So you just want to heat these up again and get them all good to go. And that's about all I can say about it. The other adjustment in here is if your knob is loose, so I can try and move this shaft up and down. You see it's moving a tiny bit. It's a tad loose. I'm not going to mess with it, but there's a set screw inside this thing, which is basically tensioning the shaft against the bearings in the front. And there's a little set screw that's way the heck down in there. I can't see it from here, but they have a hole here where you put an Allen key through here, and you'll hit that set screw. So, okay, did I damage these clips a good bit? Yep, I damaged that one, didn't I? So you want to make sure they look straight and not screwed up. So you can see where I've damaged that one. That's why I don't like taking these apart. So you want to make sure these clips get back to where they should be. And that'll clip back on there. So that's about it for my touring here. I can't say of anything else to do in here, really. Just resolder it. The iron I use is a Weller controlled temperature. This iron is from the 1980s, but it works fine. It's controlled temperature. It's a Weller. And so you just want to get this guy in there and use some decent solder. Don't use any weird solder you got it from the Ace hardware store. It gets decent solder, so I use this stuff. I've had this solder for years, probably since the 80s. I've had it like for 50 years. And I'm kind of burning through it now because I've been working a lot on radios, but I've had this stuff around since I've had a technician job back in Utah. So you want to get some good stuff like this. Rosin core, some decent solder. Okay, that's about it. Now it's time to put this thing back together. So I'm going to get the camera in a spot where we can correct the issues on the tabs that I've bent up getting this thing apart. So there we are. You can see my little slipper somewhere. And let's get these tabs back to where they should be. So I'm looking at this one. It looks pretty darn good. You kind of look down like that and say, well, is it straight or not? This one looks a little funny, so we'll give a little bend to get it back where it was. You want it to be symmetrical. So now that looks not too good. Okay, let's fix this side. Bend those back to where they go. A little more. Okay. Not great looking, but I guess it's all right. There we are. All right, and these have to be close enough that they're going to catch. And I think that's all we got to do on these. Just take a look, make sure they look symmetrical, not bent up. Look at the curvature of the spring there. Make sure they're about the same and look, you know, not distorted. If you want to clean this thing up, it's a good time to do it. You have it off so you can give it a shine if you want without disturbing anything else. Let's see, do I have anything to shine it with? Well, I got some Windex here, right? So I'm going to squirt it up a little bit. And try and get some of the crap off it. I'm just using my t-shirt and cleaning it like the old days. Oh, see that? And I'm taking off the marking, so maybe don't clean it, right? You're gonna rub off the authenticity, so I would say don't clean it. Okay, time to put it back on. Let's do that, if I can capture it with the camera. And so with one hand, you want to make sure this tab, this little hole is down. That is how you align that. The hole is down. And we're going to put it back on like that. So you set it in there. And left hand, I'm just gonna push it back in. And then you want to get it over this baseline or skirt. Get it over the skirt here. And it pretty much will self-guide in, I think, from here. Just make sure the hooks are lining up. So that's all you do on that. But yeah, the hardest part of this is getting that damn cover off. It's not easy. All right. Hooks are lined up. I'm going to put the phone down, I think, and just do it from the you need two hands for this for sure, so let's do that again. There's my ugly hand. Why do hands look so ugly in the camera? Okay, there we go. There's a little rendition of it there. So with two hands, I'm just gonna make sure each side's lined up. So left side's not in there. Just kind of get your eyes and look in there. And if things aren't going in, you want to just put them in with the pliers again. So left side I have here, it's not going into the track. So I'm going to try and get it into the track here. There, it's in. So now you want to assure that both of these things are in the notch. And let's show you a picture of that. So make sure these are in the notch when you're about to push it in. The little arrows should be in that rectangular notch on both sides. And I'm just gonna take a risk now and just push it in. See where we go. Clunk. Okay, if you get that far, you're probably good to go. It's in, and you want to have this thing retracted too. So I just look down through here and say, can I see the clips clipped onto here? Yep, there they are on the left side. They're all clipped on. They look fine. Right side, can't see them. Well, if you can't see them, you can't see them. Look at the edges. They look fine. Okay, and then you can wiggle it. And I guess before you put it back together, you can test the receiver again, or test the signal from the PTO. So I'm wiggling it now pretty hard. It's not going to come off, so it's done. So you want to put the spring back on, and you're all set. And that's saying that the thing works. So when you have it apart, you probably want to sniff for signal incrementally and see, is it working or not? And once you get it working, you want to put it back together. So that's how you do that. Put the spring back in and you're done. If I can do that with one hand or not. Okay, spring's in. And you're all set. So now you just gotta put your tubes back in if you can find them. Okay, there's this tube here, here. 12X7A goes right here. And then you can turn it back on and test your work. Make sure the thing still works. It's like, how can this guy get the PTO part and he can't get the tube in? It's making me look pretty stupid, right? Okay, there's that one. These tubes are crazy to get in. It's like they're going easy, but you want to make sure they're lined up right, because sometimes they'll pinch the socket, and that could wreck the socket and wreck the tube. 6U6. Got a leaf blower out there, probably my neighbor. He always blows leaves on Saturday, which is really irritating. Boy, I need more coffee, don't I? Okay, one more tube. Another 12X7. Looks like it's not marked, but it looks like a 12X7. It smells like a 12X7. It is one, okay? Looks like I have some cleaner on these sockets here. Some detox, it's still hanging around. All right, anyway, all this administrivia. Of course, once you get it done, you want to see if it works. So let's try that out. Gotta make sure the thing still runs. So the PTO still has signal after all your work. So probably you've tested this thing when it's all been apart, and you know it has signal. But then once you get it back together, you could hit something or break something, and so you check it again. So with that, go plug in the power supply. I always worry about plugging this thing in because I have one hand here and one hand on the plug, and 500 volts goes through my body. It's 700 volts on this thing. It's not gonna help. It won't make me feel too good. All right, on goes the plug, and fire the radio up. Okay, the PTO is instant on, and I see a signal there. That's not going to be it. So let's look down here for the signal. Oh, we got to clip it on. So yeah, spin the thing back out. Clip on your antenna from your, and you got to be careful. You don't want to inject too much signal into this little RTO SDR. You'll blow it up. You don't want to put P+ in here. You don't want to put filament voltage in here. I should probably have a capacitor here, but I know this is pretty much ground, so there you go. It's on there. Now let's take a look at our signals. There's the big PTO signal running around there. On the bottom, you can see it squirming around. So this PTO is working. All right. So that's my lesson on how to try to fix a PTO, from pulling the cover off and checking for signal with your RTL SDR. I hope this was helpful. Don't break the PTO. It's very delicate. Don't swear at it. Don't bang it. Just do it right. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.